Camps canceled for summer. Camps canceled for summer. Welcome to the Couch Time Podcast, where we give you tools to connect with your kids and point them to Jesus. I'm Steven.
Oh, my word.
I'm Josh.
I'm Aaron. No, Jinx.
And
that's fine.
by now, y'all, the parents and families have now heard that we had to make the decision to cancel high school and middle school camp this
It's a
year.
bummer.
So it's
Big
been really
bummer.
hard. I don't know, Josh and Aaron, how's this been for you guys? And just trying, one, to come to this decision, and then two, what have you been your thoughts about it afterwards? What was a letdown? I don't know.
Camp might be my favorite thing to do ever.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I'm an extrovert. I love playing games. I like drinking Red Bull, as controversial as it is. Anything that gets my adrenaline going with people, friends, playing games, having deep spiritual conversations, staying up late, getting up early. Just camp is awesome. I love it. And it's a highlight of the ministry year as far as relationally investing and teaching and going deeper with relationships in small group. And so that's normal, on top of the fact that this year we were going to do some, different stuff as far as collaborating multiple campuses. We have a third campus this year, so it's going to look a little bit different. I was super excited. So it's a huge bummer. But to be honest with you, it's like, in the grand scheme of the whole COVID-19 situation, it's just one more thing,
Right.
Which kind of lessens the blow to some degree in my world. So if I stop and think about it, I will start to cry, if I think about it. And but then reality sets in, and it's like, oh my gosh, everything's being canceled.
Yeah.
It's really not as big of a deal as I feel it to be. So
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, it was for me, it was this reality that I knew was coming, but wanted to not consider.
Yes.
Camp is by far maybe my favorite thing about my job. Maybe maybe that's a stretch. It's the favorite thing that I activity or event that I do with my job.
Yeah.
And to get to go, I get to go 2 weeks in a row, which I was stoked about. It's my favorite thing.
I was going to go 2 weeks.
Exhausting.
Yeah, me too.
And this was going to be the first year with the Independence campus. So I know a lot of the Independence families that are watching, it hurts because it was going to be our first year all together to really experience our thing. We got a small taste at winter retreat, and it was amazing, and kids grew closer together, and we had a lot of conversations about Jesus. Some people got saved at winter retreat. So it was hard to think about. One of my favorite things, I've been going to camp since I was in 8th grade. I worked at a summer camp for a whole summer when I was in college. So I really was sad, but you're right. It's been helpful to think about the bigger picture, and remember, one, not only what so many people are going through, the heartache that so many people are experiencing with this, the financial loss that people are experiencing, the businesses that are shutting down, the things much larger than my little world and my camp experience that are being affected. That it's hey, this is the right thing to do, to love our church and love our students and love our community and love our world the best that we can with the things that we've been given. So while it was a really hard thing for me at first, it's been really cool to try to consider and be grateful for things that we can be thankful for and grateful for, and remembering that this isn't a surprise to God. And God's oh crap, camp got canceled this year. Ministry is just ooh, or parents for your kids, it's like, oh crap, God was going to change my kid's heart at camp this year. Like, and now he can't. Like, it's like, no, this was actually planned before a long time.
This is plan A.
Yeah,
for
and it's
him.
like I was thinking of the story of Joseph, I mean, or David in running and he's stuck in a cave fleeing for his life. Or, I mean, you can think of so many different Bible stories where it's like God is doing something and he's always after people's hearts and giving them opportunities to repent and come to him and to seek him more and get to know him better. And it's like, we would be foolish to think that this isn't something God is using in people's lives. And he cannot use this as much, if not more than he would camp. It's like he uses everything. So it's, To your point, Steven, that's all I was saying.
Yeah. And I know, like, for me, I've been like, so especially I've been meeting with some of the seniors for
wait, you've been meeting with them?
Before all this happened and whatever.
Oh, dude, because you can't be doing that.
I know.
Not cool.
I know. But like, so especially the seniors have just really been on my mind, and thinking about like how I've had to, in my life, I've had to experience lasts without knowing it was my last.
Yeah.
And so like, actually, I was even thinking about like Ryan Foltz. So like last year's camp was his last year at camp. And I remember him telling me at one point that he was like, I didn't realize that this was going to be my last camp with Grace Fellowship Church. And man, I think there's just a lot of, it's just hard, but like you were saying, Aaron, like, so for me, I'm a natural pessimist. And so like, for me, I've been thinking like, this probably not going to happen, but a little bit like you, Steven, where it's like, I don't actually really want to think about this because I think you're right. I feel the same way about camp. It is my favorite event that I get to do. And getting to go to high school camp this year and both high school and middle school camp was just going to be a huge privilege, super awesome, and everybody was stoked about it. But to kind of, and now that it's not happening, it's like, okay, needing to like almost for me personally grieve that loss, that, okay, this isn't going to happen this way. So Lord, what do you have for me? I was listening to a podcast with Jackie Hill Perry and her husband Preston, and they are 30 minutes with the who should, dude, if you guys haven't listened, 30 minutes with the Perrys, amazing podcast.
So good. Very
so funny.
And but like, you laugh.
They will. They're great. But like, one of the things they were saying was, Jackie was saying is like, in times that are hard like this, one of the things she asks God is like, what are you doing? Not in an accusing way, but more of a like, Daddy, what's going on? What's happening? What are the things you're trying to accomplish or work on? And I don't know that we're necessarily always going to know that. But I think when I heard that this week, I was just like, oh, that's a really helpful way to view this season, not putting my hope in the next thing, but asking the Lord, where are you working? What are you trying to do? And just remembering his character and his promises. Like, I was reading in Psalm 73 this morning, and in verse 25, it says, whom do I have in heaven but you? And I desire nothing on earth but you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. And then in verse 28, it says, but as for me, God's presence is my good. I have made the Lord God, my refuge, so I can tell about all that you do. And just like, man, I think
Yep.
so encouraging to like be reminded about how awesome Jesus is in all of this hard. Because I think sometimes it can be easy to like just keep looking at this thing that I'm looking forward to, or because that's literally every conversation I have with my wife, with my friends, with students. It's just like, oh, this next thing is the thing we're like getting stoked about. One of the things on date nights that my wife and I ask each other is, what's something you're stoked about right now? And the past few weeks, we haven't been able to say something we're looking forward to that week because we have no idea what's going on. And so I think it's just been cool to like, all right, there's been a shift in, I'm putting my hope into something, this future event to, or something I'm going to get to do to, you know what? Jesus has been really helpful. He's been good recently. He's been showing me how weak everything else in this world is. And like, I'm even like tearing up thinking about it. Like everything I've been striving after has been just like weak and frail. And he is, it says he's a refuge. So anyways, that's my soapbox. It's been,
what's
also
been,
go ahead, Steven.
I say what's also been helpful is being able like to talk about all of this. Like, so us three, like we've known for a very small amount of time about this decision, and it's been really helpful for me to get to like talk to you guys about it and like kind of make jokes about it every once in a while and then be sad about it and then like look forward. So I just like encourage like kids and parents, like different people are going to think that different people are overreacting probably. Like your kid may be distraught. And it's like, let them talk about like why like this is so hard. I know it's going to be hard for some of you all parents too, because a lot of parents look forward to camp as now a time that they get to be away from their kids for a period of time and spend time together. I know my parents, I think, always look forward to when we go to camp because they get a week to themselves to just enjoy with each other and focus on their relationship. So I'm sure some of you parents are going to be mourning that too, that time away that you won't be having. I just encourage you to talk about it, to hear each other out, to ask each other how you're doing. Talk to your leaders, kids, like about how you're feeling. Your leaders are just as distraught as you. I know some leaders were crying their eyes out when I talked.
Well, it's like, I know another perspective on this is like, I had leaders who had, rearranged their vacation and stuff like that to get off for camp. That happens every year. And this year it's like, some were working on it and then COVID hit. It's like, I've got leaders that have lost their jobs. Like, it's like, there's so many things up in the air that it's like, it's hard. I've got leaders that are going to be really bummed the more they think about camp not happening.
And I think too, it's appropriate. I think to what you're saying, Stephen, about like talking about it is just like, it's appropriate to be sad about good things not happening.
That's what I was trying to say, Josh, is like, I think we know so many like solid truths about God and his plans and sovereignty, like from the church that we go to, the amazing teaching that we get, the theology that we understand. And it's like, part of me like wants to just shut down like that I'm upset and just like be like, well, I know God's in control. So like you should
muscle through it.
And man, and it's hard. It's okay to be upset. But God's good. So I just want people to be able to battle through that. That God is working that through something, but you can also be emotional about it at the same time. Why am I getting so sad right now? Oh my God!
Because it's hitting you.
It's the struggle is real. Like God gave us emotions, and he wants us to rationally process through them and use them Like there's ways that we are able to draw to the throne of grace.
Yes.
When we're weepy.
Yeah.
It's easier in some ways to draw near to the throne of grace when we're weepy than when we're super excited. And
Yeah.
there's a whole other facet of God's character that we can reflect on when we're super excited and joyful that's not there when we're upset and disappointed. It's like it's all a matter of us looking to God. And it's like now is a time more than ever where I think we should come to God. And I think that he uses it to grow us and change us. I mean, you read the Psalms, it's like there's ones that are singing and dancing, and there's ones that are like on your face, prostrate, crying. Both are necessary. God gave us the emotions like to use, I think, to glorify him. So yeah, to your guys' points, like it's, I don't cry on camera, so I'm not going to right now. So
I do.
Just kidding. I'm gonna start crying here in a second.
But like one of the things I was thinking about is like, so it talks about like God being our refuge, and I was just thinking as we were talking, like, so we've had like a bunch of these really bad storms recently, right? And I remember, like, I don't usually get freaked out about storms, but there was a couple recently that I'm like, wondering how this is gonna go. I'm on the 3rd story apartment, so we don't really have a basement if something bad happens. But I was just thinking about like how grateful I am to be in a house that protects me from all the storm that's going on. The storm still happens, but I'm protected, ultimately. My car might still get dinged up, stuff on our porch might blow away and whatever, but like just in a much like more secure way, in the emotions, in the disappointments, in the disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, and in this crazy time, God is a refuge. Like the Bible says that over and over and over, and he wants to prove that. But you can only, like, God is a refuge only makes sense if you go to it for refuge. If you stand outside of it, it ceases to be a refuge.
And you don't need a refuge unless, like, you're fleeing from something.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's been.
I just thought of something, Josh.
Yeah.
Stephen, to your point and your lesson on the James series, like, and tying this to faith, which I think that this is it says in James that it's like, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. Like trials have to do with faith, because trials, like in your illustration of the girl climbing the rock wall, if you haven't watched the video, anybody listening, go watch it. It's on what chapter was that on?
2.
Chapter 2. But it's like, the only way that somebody who's rock climbing's faith is going to be tested in the harness that they're wearing is if they fall. Like if they're climbing a set of stairs and they're wearing a rock harness, it's like they're not going to have faith in their harness. Like they're not going to need it unless they're going to jump, like, and try to fall. Like faith that's when faith is proven true, is when there's trials, when there's struggles, when there's something that, like, you're going to have to trust it if you're not going to have to. And it's like, now is a time that I think for many of my students, it's like, and even for me in a lot of ways, guys, I'll be honest, we've talked personally. It's like, I've got sin that's coming out of the woodworks in my life that I didn't even know was there, because I'm starting to see things that were idols in my life, or comforts that I had, or things that I was just doing in my own power that now I'm not doing. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize that was such a stronghold in my life. That I'm now seeing. And so it's like, now is a time for students, maybe the first time that this is a trial that they're really feeling, that's like, they're having things taken away that they don't know what to fall on. Like, it's a trial. Like they need to go somewhere for refuge. They've never had to do that before. So that just came to mind as you were talking.
That's really helpful. Yeah. I think, just thinking back to my own life, I mean, a lot of what you were saying, Aaron, earlier, just like there's things about God, his character and his promises that we just don't experience without trials, without loss. I mean, I've personally experienced loss that years ago that I still tear up about, and it still hurts. It's not that the pain necessarily goes away. It's that I've been able to experience something about God, specifically his gentleness, and knowing that he cares and he knows. I think we just celebrated Easter, right? Like Jesus knows what it's like to experience loss, for maybe God to feel distant. But there's it's just so encouraging. Like Jesus says, like, I will never leave you or forsake you. Even when things are hard, even when things get taken away, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. And that's just an encouraging promise.
Yeah. I have one thing, if it's all right with you guys, as far as to kind of turn, as far as, parents listening, maybe something that you could use to talk about a tool, which again, to go back to the book of James, I think this is something that came up, it's like, I think God's doing in my life, but in James chapter 4, which we haven't heard taught on yet, but if you're doing the reading plan, I'm not teaching it, Kyle is, I'll be teaching on James 5, but in James 4, it's a pretty popular passage. I'm going to read it. 4 verse 13, 14, 15. Come now, you who say today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make a profit. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. Like with camp in particular, it's like, in my heart, it's like camp is going to be awesome this year. We are doing camp. We are planning all of this stuff. We're making all these purchases. It's like, whoa. Nothing's going to happen unless it's the Lord's will. Like, and whatever happens then, which it implies, whatever happens, whether it's what we want or not, whatever happens is the Lord's will. So right. It's like in my life, even so, for example, I'm supposed to be at a conference right now that I was super, super excited about. I told you guys about it, T4G. Eliza and I were going. It was going to be awesome. It's like, we're not there. Like, I'm really, really ticked at that. Last week was supposed to be spring break. We were supposed to be on vacation. It's like, guess what? That was canceled. My daughters are still crying because we didn't get to go where we were supposed to go. And it's like, hold on a second. How many of my plans are, it's like, am I operating on my power? And it says, as it is, you boast in your arrogance. It's like all such boasting is evil. And it's like, I think there's something so much deeper and more profound going on here as it pertains to our faith and people's faith. And boasting. So just real quick, boasting, I don't know if anybody knows this, but boasting is not just like this thing that you do to, like brag to other people, like boasting, making yourself like feel good about yourself. The word boasting has another meaning where it's what people would do to hype themselves up to get ready to charge in battle. So it's like a boast is something that we tell ourselves to hype ourselves up. Maybe, and I would even say as far as in our hearts and minds, not necessarily something that we're bragging about and boasting to others, which it could be both. So I think that this is an awesome opportunity to talk to your kids as far as like the Lord's will is paramount and our faith in following the Lord's will, not our will and hoping that the God blesses our will and what we are planning and what we are
so
doing.
Good.
It's just a matter of switching the two. And then even saying this, parents, that you could talk to your kids about or in your own heart and mind. It's like, maybe you were excited to send your kids to camp. You got rid of them for a week or two. Like, I know that's kind of funny. We can joke about it, but you can boast about the Lord's will and the fact that like you can hype yourself up. Like right now, I can hype myself up amidst the loss of wanting to do camp because it's like the Lord's will is better. I don't know what it is, but it's like I can try to hype myself up about that because of everything we've said, Stephen. It's like we know these so many truths about God's character, about God's faithfulness. Like it's just a matter of seeing the motivation of our heart and what we're looking to for faith. So it's like,
and in this way, you can hype yourself up even more because you know, like, I had a plan. God changed the plans that I had purposefully, not randomly. God changed the plans that I had made purposefully. I had plans, ladies and gentlemen, to buy a $250 inflatable duck that you could sit in with cup holders, 6 people. It was going to go on the lake. I had that plan, and I was stoked about it because Aaron was going to let me buy it this year. But God.
Wait a second. No. Okay, whatever. Go on.
God purposefully changed our plans. And you're right, Aaron. I can get excited about that. It's like, hey, like, what? Why? Why did he do that? Okay, I'm gonna walk in. Maybe years down the road, I'll be able to look back and see why he purposely changed my plan.
Yeah.
Or maybe I won't. And either way, I can rest assured that it was purposefully. It was good. And it wasn't with my best interest in mind. And that's pretty exciting. And I also can promise you that whenever we do come out of this thing, it's going to be the exciting, fun.
We're going to have 6 inflatable ducks.
But
I'm kidding.
We don't know when it will be. We can't plan when it will be.
We don't.
If the Lord wills, we will go absolutely nuts, and we're dreaming. We're thinking about what we could do. We're just waiting to see what the timetable looks like. But while this is hard, we will do everything we can to make something to where we can all rejoice and celebrate what the Lord purposefully postponed and canceled and changed. So, that's very assuring, resting.
Are you?
It's hard.
Go for it.
I was just gonna say, faith is hard. Like it's like it's like mental work to. So emotions are good. We talked about, which they are, but then we also can't just let our emotions run. Like they have to be tethered to something, and that's faith. Like faith has to be like this stake that's in the ground that the emotions then we like have to be connected to, because left to my emotions, my faith will like be gone. Like, and I'll just be worrying. I'll be anxious. I'll be angry. It's like, but if we can drive that stake in the ground of, it's like, no, God is doing something. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm going to grieve the loss of the things that I was hoping for and I thought we saw coming. But at the end of the day, it's going to be okay. Like, that's the power of faith. It gives us hope. It gives us trust. It gives us peace. It's like it's almost like this, I don't know, this analogy is coming to mind about having my feet on a rock instead of on like, that's like shifting, moving, and like, I don't know. Somebody should write that down.
Interesting. Yeah.
Josh, were you gonna say something over here?
Yeah. I just want to read this like slight part at the end of this. So this is a book by Paul David Tripp. My Heart Cries Out. It is gospel meditations for everyday life, and it's like just these poems with like some sweet like imagery and stuff. But then at the end of this one, he quotes a verse and then some like specific things, and I think is really applicable to what we're talking about. So he quotes from Romans 15:13. It says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope." And some of the questions he asks are, what common things do you turn to as a source of hope? How do these things fall short when compared to the hope that Christ offers you? Meditate on and journal about the ways that Christ has brought you hope. And then he's also saying, for more encouragement, read 1 Corinthians 15. But yeah, just abounding in hope. That's what we're clinging to.
Yeah. And on that note, I'll pray.
Great.
All right, let's pray. Dear God, thank you that you're always up to something. You're always up to millions of billions of things that we don't even ever see. God, thank you that you have plans that can't be changed, that can't be stopped, that will come to pass. God, thank you that one day you will wipe every tear from our eye. You will remove all pain and hurt and suffering, and we'll be fully right and with you in a glorious, glorious life in a new world, new earth. God, we trust you in the middle of hard things. We still cry because things are hard. It still hurts. But thank you that we have someone in the person of Jesus to look to, knowing that he loves us and that he demonstrates his love for us by dying on the cross. And we can rest assured in that. So God, be with these parents, be with these kids as they get hard news today and what's been a season of hard news probably. Lord, I pray that you would comfort them, you would give them peace, and you would help them to grieve and to look to you. God, we love you. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.